Alright y'all, we're going to make gumbo. A full-fledged, everything but the kitchen sink gumbo. You start by putting water in a pot. Take a whole chicken, drop it in there. But you start by boiling the chicken till you get it off the bone. And while that's going on, I'll be prepping the veggies and the spices and whatnot, and we'll get back to it. These are the only vegetables that I put in my gumbo, and I'll be prepping them while the chicken is boiling over there. We have green onions, a little red bell pepper for color, green bell pepper, a little celery. You want to go easy on the celery because it can overpower it. I got a little bit of parsley. You can use dried parsley, and one big onion. I'm going to chop, dice, chop this up, and I'll speed through that, but that's what we're going to put in there. Now some people put okra and tomatoes. I'll eat it with okra and tomatoes in it, but when I make it I don't put it in there because I don't really care for it that much. As a suggestion, if you do use okra, make sure you saute it in a hot skillet with a little oil before you put it in your gumbo. That de-slimes it, because if not you're going to end up with a slimy gumbo, and you don't want that. So let's get to Alright y'all, there's the stock. That's what we're going to make our gumbo from. That's the water that I boiled the chicken in. There's the boiled chicken. That pot back there, that cast iron, is what I'm going to saute my vegetables in. Now some people don't do that. That's onion and celery. Some people just throw it in. But I don't like doing that because then it floats around on the top forever. There's my green onion. There's my bell pepper. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but there's a little bit of fresh parsley. And I'm just going to saute that down, and that way it won't float around on the top of my gumbo when I start mixing in the roux. I just find it irritating. And you can use dried parsley, that's curly parsley. And I'm going to do all that while I'm going to add the roux. This is the most important part of a gumbo. Anytime you ask anybody how to make a gumbo, the first thing out of their mouth will be, first you make a roux. Now, I can make roux, but I don't really have that kind of time to bore you, because it takes, and you know, I make mine old school. It's 47 minutes of just standing there. And I may do one video one day and show you and speed it up, but for right now I'm going to use a store-bought kind. This is Savoy's or Savoy, depending on where you're from. We also have Richards or Richards down here. And I'm going to let that boil, and I'll continue to add it until it's the right consistency. The stock is the right consistency. Gumbo is not a stew, it's not a chowder, it's not a soup. It's somewhere in between. I don't really know how to explain it to you, but I'm going to boil that and get it mixed up in there real good, and then we'll get back to you and assemble this. I also put sausage in my gumbo. This is a hot sausage that is made here locally, and this is a regular mild pork sausage that a friend of mine made. It's smoked also, and you can cut it into whatever size bites you want. Just something like that, or larger. And, you know, it's a personal preference thing. And I'm gonna do that with all of it, and I'm gonna gently boil it a little while to render some of the fat out of it. Then, being obsessive compulsive, I'm gonna fry it a little bit in this black cast iron pan to kind of tighten the casing back up on it after I boil it. And we'll be adding that to the gumbo also. Alright y'all, here are my spices and flavorings, or whatever you want to call them, that I put in there. We have Worcestershire sauce, Louisiana hot sauce. That's not Tabasco, just Louisiana hot sauce. That happens to be Crystal. We have salt, cayenne pepper, white pepper, black pepper, granulated garlic. I'm going to put a little paprika in there just for the hell of it. Oregano, some bay leaves, 2 or 3 bay leaves, and a little Tony's to kind of adjust it. And I'm going to put all that into the stock that has the roux in it, and let it simmer for a while. And when it starts tasting like gumbo, you know, the gumbo flavor, or what you think gumbo tastes like, then we'll add the meats. Y'all, there's my roux. It's boiling. And put a little, I don't know how much that is, tablespoon and a half. Really depends on how much stock you got. If you make a smaller batch of gumbo, you don't need as much. I'm going to put a little Louisiana hot sauce in there. I'm going to hold off on the salt. And gumbo's not supposed to be real hot. I'm going to put a little red pepper. Ooh. A little white pepper. And you got to be damn careful with the white pepper. Just a little bit. A little black pepper. A little granulated garlic. I guess you could use garlic salt if you wanted to. And I'll be tasting this later and adjusting it. It's your gumbo. Put what you want in there. That was paprika, oregano. Now my brother, I've seen him put rosemary and hard-boiled eggs and everything else in it. You kind of do what you want as far as the seasoning. If there's something you don't like, don't put it in there. Alright, there's 1, 2, 3 bay leaves. And I'm going to hold off on the Tony's because it's got salt in it. And I'm just going to let that go for an hour. Give it a chance to meld. One last thing I failed to mention. This gumbo filet, sassafras leaves, ground up sassafras leaves. You don't want to put a bunch in your gumbo. I'm telling you that right now. This is a condiment down here. You know, it comes on in the middle of the table when you eat gumbo, and you put what you want on there. But you can put a little bit. If you put too much, you end up with a green, slimy gumbo. And you don't want that. Alright y'all, this is my roux with the stock. And I added the vegetables that I had sauteed so they wouldn't float around on the top. This is the point where you want to taste it, which I did. And it needs a little more salt. You want to be careful with salt. That's maybe a teaspoon, because you can put it in, but it's hard as hell to take out. And I also use Tony's because it's got so much salt in it. And I'll taste it again until I get it right, and then we'll add the meat. When I make gumbo, I put everything in it. There's dozens of different kind of gumbo. You can have duck and sausage, you can have dove and sausage, squirrel and sausage, squirrel, chicken and sausage, seafood. I throw it all in there. You don't have to. If you see something you don't like out of any of these ingredients, just don't add it. What I've got here is a chicken. I've got some sausage. I've got some shrimp, Louisiana shrimp, Louisiana crab meat, some oysters, some crawfish, and some duck. If you put wild duck in there, make sure you check it for steel shot, because you don't want to bite into that. And that duck also has gizzards, and I think there might even be a liver in there. But we're going to throw all this in there. Everything's already cooked except the oysters and the shrimp. When the shrimp and oysters are done, we'll serve it up. I'll let you see me dumping it in there. Alright y'all, let's add the meat. Here comes my chicken. I don't want this splashing all over me. Chicken, duck, sausage, crawfish, shrimp, Gulf shrimp. Pulled the heads off and deveined them myself. Crab meat, oysters. Give it a stir. Now, I had tasted this, and it needed a little more salt. I used Tony's to adjust the salt because it's mostly salt. Give it a stir. Now when the shrimp are done and the oysters are done, we'll plate it up. Alright y'all, now I'm going to serve this up. You can put as much rice in your bowl as you want. You can tell I'm a meat eater. I ain't a whole lot of rice. I'm more interested in the meat. If you get a lot of grease on the top of your gumbo, you want to take that off, because it doesn't, it makes for a bad gumbo. Just skim it off the top. Alright. Now let's y'all, there it is. Like I said, this filet gumbo is a condiment. You just kind of sprinkle a little bit on your plate. If you want to be real fancy, you could put a crawfish claw or a crab claw on top. Since y'all here, I'll make it pretty with a little piece of parsley. I like mine with a crusty French bread. Most people eat it with crackers. And that is it, and thank goodness I'm done with this. Bam! Little green onion. Appreciate y'all watching. Try it, you'll like it. Bye.